This video is sponsored by Narrative. This year, I hit the 10-year mark as a wedding photographer, which means I've shot close to 300 weddings and spent close to 900 hours culling through photos. What if today in this video, I could show you guys how to cut that time in half, which means you could spend a week holiday every year in Hawaii instead. Let me show you how. I have been a wedding photographer for the last 10 years. That's right, this year I just hit the 10-year mark. Dang, does that make me old? It's not often that you can say that you've been doing something for a decade. Anyways, over the past 10 years, I have had the privilege of traveling all around the world and shooting close to 300 weddings. And for me, I love shooting weddings. You get to travel, go to new places, meet new people, and you're documenting one of the most important and best days of people's lives. It's great. And a lot of times there's pretty dang good, delicious food as well, at least most of the time. But there is one step in my wedding photography workflow that I absolutely detest, and that's culling through photos. Because when you're going through 4,000 plus photos per wedding, it takes forever. And there's just so much to think about and look through. You're trying to figure out, is this the best photo in the set, or is there a better photo coming later? Is this photo in focus? You're trying to zoom in and trying to figure out, is it in focus? You're trying to see if everyone's eyes are open or not in that group shot. And not to mention the lagginess of Adobe Lightroom. You click that button for next photo and it's like, next photo, next photo. And it honestly takes so many hours just to cull through the wedding photos, let alone start editing them then. It almost feels like culling, which is probably one of the most time-consuming steps of a wedding photographer's workflow, has just been stagnant for the last 10 years. It hasn't really changed, at least for me. Maybe I just haven't been an earlier adopter of new programs, but I've been using Adobe Lightroom pretty much the whole time for the last 10 years, and not much has changed when it comes to the world of culling photos. So that's why when I was approached by the guys at Narrative to try out their tool, Narrative Select, it definitely piqued my interest. And the moment when I opened up Narrative Select, right away, I started culling through the photos and I started thinking to myself, where in the world has this program been in the last 10 years? It would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of gray hairs when I've been culling through my wedding photos. So let's open up Narrative Select and do a deep dive into it and show you guys how I sped up my culling process in half. Plus save me from getting a lot of gray hairs in the future. Or now. That's why I'm wearing a beanie right now. So when you open up Narrative Select, it's got a very clean, minimalistic interface. And in the beginning, it just asks you to choose a folder of images or drop it here. So I'm gonna choose a folder and I'm gonna go and choose a wedding that I shot last year. And it's gonna choose, and you can add a name to the project. So I put the couple's names here. And then you're just gonna press next. Now we're just waiting to import the images, which was really quick. But the reason why it takes a little bit of time to just import the images is that Narrative Select is actually using AI to assess each single photo. And that's really the magic of this program. This program is using AI to help you as a wedding photographer cull through your photos and figure out which photos are the best for you. So let's deep dive more into that and show you the features of this program. So now we have the photos imported, and I just want to go over with you guys kind of like the user face buttons in this program. So up here in the top left, we can look at grid view. If you want to quickly just scroll through and find photos. We have scenes view, which is kind of cool. You can, go through each scene and then figure out the best photos from that scene. So that's a different kind of way of looking at your photos. Or then we have the loop view, which you can just one by one click and look through the photos, which I personally use the most. And then up here, we have our rating system. You have colors. You can then rate with numbers. And I personally like to use either 0 or 5. And the reason why I do that is that the 5 and 0 are close enough that you can just press with one hand, either 5, 0, 5, 0. And that just allows you then to choose your favorite photos. And what's great is that you can actually go here into preferences and you can choose auto advance the next image after changing or adding a setting. So which basically means that, if I press 5, it's gonna automatically go to the photo. If I press 0, it's gonna go to the next photo. If I press 5, it's gonna go to the next photo, 0, and so on. So I love that you can just quickly then press the buttons rating them 5 or 0, choosing the photo or rejecting the photo, and it'll automatically go to the next step. Here, you can close the filters that you're using. You can as well here choose more different kinds of settings based on what you want to rate or choose your photos. And here you can do the open shot info panel. So you can click here and you can see the information, what model of camera you use, what ISO, aperture, shutter speed, which is great if you want to do, for example, a blog post afterwards and you want to maybe share your details of what settings you had when you're shooting the photo. So that's great, that's right there. And then here we have the ship button. So narrative is actually very streamlined to work with Lightroom. So once you're done culling through all your photos, you just press ship and then the photos get sent to Lightroom, and we'll dive more deep into that at the end of this video. I love this auto advance feature because every single click that you can eliminate in the grand scheme of things is actually a lot of time. So instead of having to always click next photo, that's a few seconds every single photo, which then adds up to minutes or hours when you're culling through photos. So having auto advance to just quickly, every time you give a rating 5, 0, 5, 0, it's just gonna go to the next photo, which makes things go a lot faster. All right, now that we've looked at the interface and kind of the buttons of Narrative Select, let's deep dive into why I love this program and why Narrative Select has sped up my culling process in half. Now, the first feature that I really love about Narrative Select is that there's no latency or lag when you're looking through photos. For example, when I just click one by one each photo, right away, I can see the photo and I can just go and cull through the photos so quickly. Now, look at the difference when you're in Lightroom. When I'm clicking in Lightroom, the same set of photos, I click next, it's just lagging in between every single photo. And now this might not seem like a big deal, but when you have 4,000 photos on average per wedding shoot, let's say 30 weddings a year, that's 120,000 photos. And if in every single photo it takes like a second, that's 33 hours. That's 33 hours wasted. That's like one full work week, which means I could go on a holiday instead to Hawaii or something. So I personally just love how smooth and buttery Narrative Select is. You can just quickly cull through your photos without any lag or latency. The second feature that I love about Narrative Select is that it's using AI to give a score for each photo. So basically, when you're looking through your photos, you'll see that there's this little eye and then there's this little line that's kind of like a half circle below. And what these are showing is the top one, eye, is showing based on what colors it's gonna show, are the eyes closed, are they partially open, or are they open? So for example, in this photo, it's giving me a yellow rating, which means that the eyes are partially open. And then the line below is gonna give me the rating for focus. So this one's a 91% in focus, this was 99% in focus, which is great. So when you're quickly looking through your photos, you can see, okay, eyes are closed, eyes are closed, eyes are not closed, they're open here. So, you know, already that's speeding up so much because I can just look at the ratings given by Narrative, you know, rather than squinting and looking to see, are they in focus, are their eyes open? You can just trust the ratings given by Narrative. Another cool feature about Narrative Select is that because it's using AI, it can actually predict and tell you if there's gonna be better photos coming up in that sequence. So for example, here, you can see this question mark and it's saying, it's fairly likely there are better images in this 17 image scene, which gives me the confidence to reject this photo and actually keep going forwards and find the best photo in this sequence. Isn't that insane? Artificial intelligence is examining, assessing, and figuring out that, hey, there's actually a better photo later on, so don't waste your time right now choosing this photo. Which I've done a lot of times in the past in Lightroom. I choose a photo, and then 5, 10 photos later in that sequence, I realize, there was a better one, then I gotta go back and delete the old one, and it's slow. This artificial intelligence helps you a lot. Another cool feature which will actually help you cull through your photos a lot, you can actually go up here to filters, and Narrative will tell you that out of all the photos I've shot, 2,034 photos had no warnings, 311 had moderate warnings, and 273 had strong warnings. So if you want to quickly just cull through the worst photos, you can just click the strong images and just clear them, which will just be unrated. They don't actually get deleted, but they'll just get removed from the culling process. Now, sometimes you might have to go back and look through them really quickly just to make sure, because it might delete a photo, for example, where the couple's eyes are closed, but maybe you actually wanted their eyes to be closed, but there's usually very few circumstances where that actually happens, so you can quite blindly just trust the AI and know that, okay, 273 of those photos, probably the eyes are closed. out of focus, just not good photos. So already that's speeding up your culling so much. Feature number 3 that I really love about narrative is the fact that you can zoom in on faces very easily. Not only does narrative assess the photos and tell you whether the eyes are closed or whether they're in focus, but you can as well zoom super easily by pressing the space bar, and it'll just zoom to the faces, and then you can use your arrow keys to go back and forth. So you can zoom in quickly, see what their facial expressions are like. Are their eyes closed? Is it in focus? And that is super helpful rather than in Lightroom when I would, have to zoom in and scroll through and try to find it. You just press spacebar, and just like that, I can see my subject's faces, and I can just go back and forth with the arrows. Now this gets only even better when it comes to group photos. Let me find some family photos. We all know how miserable it can be to go through family photos and cull them and figure out which one is the best. But with narrative select, you can go here to the right side where there's a panel that'll choose every single face in that group photo. So instead of having to even zoom in closer and look at every single face, you can quickly here just on the right side see everyone's facial expressions, whether their eyes are closed, are they in focus, are they lit well, which speeds up the process. So I literally just, the moment I find one good photo where everyone's eyes are open, they got good facial expressions, put a 5 on that, and I can know that all the rest of the photos in that scene, I can just remove. That is another feature that really speeds up the culling process because oftentimes it takes a lot of time to go through those family photos and choose the right one. But with the AI being able to quickly figure out all the faces in the photo, you can just open up that panel, speeds up the process so much. And feature number 4, which is really cool about this program is that narrative actually uses AI to teach you how to use the program better. I don't know if you noticed, but as I clicked certain buttons, it'll actually open up a little box there. It'll say, hey, next time use this button, press this key to do that. And that is slowly just training your brain to use the keyboard shortcuts so that's even faster using this program, which I really like because a lot of times, at least for me, I am a very slow adopter when it comes to new programs and even slower at adopting keyboard shortcuts because I'm just a slow learner. But the program is just gently, nudging me every single time that, hey, next time try using G to go into grid view mode, or hey, next time try using E to enter into the loop view. So the program itself is teaching you how to use it. That sounds pretty amazing to me. You have your own personal teacher teaching you how to use narrative select. Finally, the best part, you've done your culling, you gotta ship it to Lightroom. All you gotta do is go to ship. You choose whether you're using Lightroom Classic or Lightroom CC. You can choose which catalog you've been using, and you can choose the images to be shipped with a rating or some other filter that you've been using. I would use the rating because I use just 5.0, and then you press ship images, Lightroom will open up, and you're ready to start editing your wedding photos and just zoom through that wedding. And just like that, you have sped up your culling process in half, meaning you've saved countless hours, meaning you can go out and play golf or go on a holiday to Hawaii, which I would love to right now because it's raining and cold here in Canada. All right, guys, hopefully I caught your attention with this program. Rightfully so, this will actually help you so much as a wedding photographer. If you're interested in checking out Narrative Select, you can click the link in my description. You'll actually get a free 30-day trial to use Narrative Select Pro. And if you fall in love, which I'm sure you will fall in love with the program, you can continue your pro subscription for a low price of $18 a month or $150 a year. And if for some reason you just don't have the budget to right now invest in Narrative Select Pro, you can actually still use the basic version of Narrative Select for free, which is really cool. They want you guys to be able to use the program no matter what. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know I've enjoyed learning how to use Narrative Select. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on the latest videos, and smash that like button because, well, it helps the algorithm. And if you enjoy my channel, I appreciate that support. All right, guys, have a fantastic week.